Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel, and I am super excited because we got some brand new card reveals to look at in today's video. We actually got a decent amount of cards. We got some brand new Ogerpon EXs. Of course, Ogerpon is going to be a brand new EX we are going to be getting within our Twilight Masquerade set. Twilight Masquerade will be coming out in May, and these cards will also be featured in the Crimson Haze set in Japan, which is actually coming out next week. But like I said, we got some brand new EX cards here. We got Ogerpon EXs, 4 types of Ogerpons. We got a brand new special energy card and a brand new supporter card that we are going to be looking at in today's video. I'm pretty excited to look at these brand new card reveals. I want to see if these Ogerpons are any good yet, and I am just super excited for new card reveals. As always, if you're new here to the second channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We're on the road to 12,000 subs, and if you go on to enjoy the video, leave a like on the video. Let me know in the comments below what you think of these brand new cards. Obviously, I'll leave a link down below to Poke Beach so you can go check out all the cards for yourself and give them a read. So yeah, let's get things started. We'll look at the Lanas Assistant first, the first new supporter card here. Now, Lanas Assistant is very reminiscent of Clara. Now, Clara is rotating, and it's a bit of a big loss for some decks. I mean, a big deck using it, obviously, is Sable's Art. Now, Lana's Assistant does have a similar-ish effect to what Clara did. You can put 3 of any combination of Pokemon that don't have a rule box and basic energies from your discard pile into your hand. So, much like Clara, where you can put 2 Pokemon, 2 energy, Lana lets you put up to 3 Pokemon or 3 basic energy in any combination. So it's not the same as Clara. Obviously, the big kicker is you can't put rule box Pokemon back in your hand. So the main downside with Lana's Assistance, you can't use it to put Radiant Charizard back into your hand, but you are still able to recover Pokemon and energy. So if you're playing something like a Lost Box deck with only 1 prizers, you can get back the 1 prizers like the Sableye and the Cram and the energies, but you can't put back the big hitters like the Radiant Charizard and the Roaring Moon. So this card is okay. It is definitely a weaker version of Clara, but it's not bad either. And I do think there will be some decks that might play it. Any deck that ever really played Clara that didn't really rely as heavily on rule box Pokemon are probably going to really like having Lana's Assistance now. But yeah, this card, it's not terrible. I don't hate it. It is nice to have a pseudo Clara card back in the format, I'm not going to lie. So it is nice to see this card in the format being similar to Clara. Next up, we do have the new Boomerang Energy. Yeah, we did get a brand new special energy within this set. It's an interesting one. So as long as it's attached to a Pokemon, it does provide a colorless energy. Obviously, they got to be a little careful with how they designed a special energy because of Archeops, but it does have an interesting effect. If this card is discarded by the effect of an attack used by the Pokemon this card is attached to, you can attach this card from discard pile back to that Pokemon after attacking. So it's very reminiscent of an old special fire energy where when you discard it, the energy goes back onto the Pokemon if you were to discard it with the effect of an attack. So any attack effect that makes you discard energy, if you were to discard this energy with that attack effect, you just reattach it to that Pokemon. Now, there are a few Pokemon that could realistically play this card. So we'll have to see if this Boomerang Energy ends up seeing play. It's an okay card. You do have to probably attach it in order to kind of get value out of it, because I don't know if there's, like, you could realistically play this in Lugia. I'm not sure there's any partners Lugia could use with this card, but it could be okay, right? Being able to retrieve the energy after discarding it is good. I mean, that all assumes the Pokemon that just used this energy card doesn't get KO'd. So, yeah, we'll have to see on that. Definitely an interesting card for sure. I'm not sure how playable Boomerang Energy is going to be, but we'll have to see if there are any cards. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that really is that good that will probably play this card, but maybe in the future there will be something that comes out that will like having Boomerang Energy. Alrighty then, time to look at the Ogerpon EXs here. Twilight Masquerade. They revealed a lot of the stuff, like the set logo here got revealed. The pack artwork here got revealed with the Ogerpons on it. Of course, the Blood Moon Ursaluna. Even this pack artwork here. It's got a Dragapult Terrestrial on it. So we're going to get a Dragapult EX, it looks like, in this set also, which is kind of interesting. The ETB artwork looks kind of nice too, the dark green. But now we can look at the brand new Ogerpon. So we'll start things off here with the Grass Ogerpon. There are 4 different masks of Ogerpon. So we got the Teal mask of Ogerpon here. This is a Grass-type EX Pokemon. It's got the ability Teal Dance. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic Grass energy from your hand to this Pokemon. If you attach energy to this Pokemon in this way, draw a card. And then it's got the attack Myriad Leaf Shower, which for 3 grass energy does 30 plus 30 more damage for each energy on both active Pokemon. So it's basically got Espathra EX's attack, where it's doing 30 damage for each energy on both. You're going to do a little bit more base damage than Espathra, because you already need to put 3 energy on the Ogerpon. So you're doing what? 120 damage already, because you're already doing 30 base damage, it looks like. And of course, you do have a built-in energy acceleration engine with, your own ability Teal Dance, where you can attach energy to it. Not a bad card. It's nice to have another grass Pokemon in the format that can attack Charizard EX, but I'm not sure if this card is going to be great against Charizard, because you need to put 3 energy on it. It's not like Iron Leaves, where you can easily kind of get energy out into play and then move into Iron Leaves. This card requires 3 grass specifically. It's also very fragile, only having 210 HP. But, it could be good. We got the other Ogerpon, the Hearth Flame Mask Ogerpon here, and this one is a Fire-type Pokemon. It's got the attack Wrathful Heart, which for a Fire and a double Turbo Energy does 20 damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So it does have 210 HP. Like I said, it isn't on the the bulky side or anything, but that attack can do a decent chunk of damage if it takes a lot of damage. I mean, if Ogerpon takes like 200 damage, you're going to be clapping back with 400 damage. So you can do a lot of damage if your Ogerpon survives the turn. Could be an interesting attack. And then, of course, you got Dynamic Blaze, which for 3 fire energy does 140 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is an evolution Pokemon, this attack does 140 more damage, and you discard all energy from this Pokemon. So 280 damage to an evolution is nice. Though a lot of the evolution Pokemon probably won't get KO'd. Like, this is not KOing Charizard, obviously. But you could play this in a fire deck with Armor Rouge. That's like the first thing that kind of pops into my mind with the Hearth Flame Mask Ogerpon, is to play it within a Firebox deck, using Armor Rouge, using Magma Basin, stuff like that could be a way to play it. I'm not not the worst card ever. Is it better than the Grass Ogerpon? Yeah, I would say so. All right, Water Ogerpon. Now, this one, in my opinion, might be the best Ogerpon in this set of cards. So it is a Water-type Pokemon, the Wellspring Mask Ogerpon here. Once again, 210 HP. It's got 2 attacks. You got Sob. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon cannot retreat. And then you have a Torrential Pump. Now, this attack is pretty insane. So for a Water and a double Turbo, it does 100 damage. You may shuffle 3 energy from this Pokemon back into your deck. If you do, this attack also does 120 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So pretty similar stuff to G-Max Rapid Flow, where you can do, the spread damage. So you get to do 100 damage to the active and then 120 damage to a bench Pokemon if you shuffle 3 energy from this Pokemon back into the deck. So right away, this is a pretty strong snipe attack. Obviously, it's like Rapid Check Urshifu. It's also very similar to a Heatmore card that Armor Rouge decks have been playing. There's a Heatmore in the format that can do 90 and then 180 damage snipe. So kind of similar to that also. Snipe attacks are always pretty decent in the TCG. I know Manaphy does exist, which obviously might hold this Ogerpon back a little bit. But overall, it could be a good addition to the Shempao Baxcalibur deck, where now all of a sudden you have an even stronger bench snipe attacker over playing the Radiant Greninja as your only snipe attacker. Now, on top of Greninja, you now have the Ogerpon here to have another strong snipe attack where you can do the 100 damage and then the 120 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So overall, not a bad card either. The first attack isn't terrible. I mean, being able to retreat lock the opponent has always been pretty decent, so that could also be decent. Now we have a retreat lock attack on this Ogerpon too, which can give you win conditions against certain decks. Though I guess you'd probably have to play like double Turbo or something with this card so that you can effectively do no damage with Sob. But there is another retreat lock attack, and of course, that Torrential Pump attack is pretty good. So I would say so far, this Wellspring Mask Ogerpon is now, in my opinion, the best Ogerpon we've seen. There is a fighting-type Ogerpon, though, here. We got the Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon. Now, this card has a really interesting ability, Cornerstone Stance. Prevent all damage from attacks done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon that have an ability. So that's a pretty cool ability to have. Being immune to Pokemon with an ability isn't bad. I mean, a lot of the big decks right now do use abilities. I mean, you think about it, there's cards like Shempao has an ability, Charizard has an ability, Goldango has an ability. Not bad. Now, obviously, there are Pokemon that don't have an ability, like Iron Hands EX comes to mind, Roaring Moon EX comes to mind, but there are still a handful of Pokemon with an ability. I mean, Arceus V-Star, Palkia V-Star, Lugia V-Star, they all have abilities. And of course, you did the attack Demolish, which for a fighting and a double turbo does 140 damage, and this attack's damage isn't affected by weakness or resistance or by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. Mediocre attack, not doing weakness means you're not going to be one-shotting stuff like Iron Hands and Arceus V-Star, because you are doing 140, you do hit the pretty magic number. But the ability itself is kind of cool. I could see this card being used in kind of like a control-y archetype, because being immune to Pokemon with an ability is not bad. It's like playing Vulpix V-Star in a way, where you use Vulpix V-Star as your main attacker to lock your opponent out of being able to attack you or whatever and do anything. This kind of is the same vein where you're using it so that Pokemon with an ability cannot touch you. It's not a bad card at all. Could it be its own deck? Maybe. I mean, again, there's a lot of Pokemon with an ability in the format that are popular. It's not going to work against everything, right? Stuff like Roaring Moon can still attack you. Obviously, Iron Hands EX come to mind. Like, those are some of the cards that are popular in the new meta that could attack you, but it isn't a bad ability at all, and definitely a very strong ability. So I think that, honestly, the Fighting Ogerpon and the Water Ogerpon EX were the two best Ogerpons we looked at. There is, of course, the basic Teal Mask Ogerpon here. It's got the attack Mountain Stroll. Search your deck for 2 basic energy, put them in your hand, and then Ogre come back, doing 20 damage plus 20 more damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. This could be okay against Charizard. If Charizard has a full bench, you actually can do 120 damage for 2 energy, and then you play a super effective Glasses, and you can 1-hit KO the Charizard EX. So this could be like a little replacement to Tropius in the Glasses box deck as a meme. Because, again, if Charizard fills their entire board up, which, let's be real, they're going to have assuming you're playing as Bibarel, they're going to have a Charmander, a Bidoof, a Manaphy, and a Jirachi in play. Boom, full bench, Ogre comeback, super effective Glasses, knock it out. Looks like it does 20 base damage, so you can do that 120 damage. That's kind of cool. And then we got a new trainer card here, the Ogre's Mask. Choose a Pokemon EX in your discard pile that has Ogerpon in its name, and switch it with one of your Pokemon EX in play that has Ogerpon in its name. Any attached cards, damage counters, special conditions, turns in play, effects stay on the new Pokemon. So getting to swap your Ogerpons out, it's actually kind of cool. I don't know if an Ogerpon toolbox deck is going to be viable, in all honesty. Like, there's not a lot of synergy between the 4 Pokemon. Like, you could realistically use this as one of your main Ogerpons, because this is obviously one of the best, probably the best Ogerpon, to be honest with you. Then you have the Water Ogerpon, which is pretty good too. I mean, these 2 Pokemon do only need 1 energy type for their attack cost. Everything else is colorless. The Fire guy, I guess, does too, but the Teal Mask does not. So I don't know if like an Ogerpon toolbox deck is viable, but I think the Ogerpons can also play in their own separate decks. Again, this could be its own deck. This could be good within a fighting deck. I don't know, like a fighting toolbox deck, or you could realistically play this in something like Raging Bolt. I guess that's another deck that plays fighting Pokemon. You could play this in a Lost Box deck, obviously, too. That's another deck that could also play Ogerpon. Honestly, all these Ogerpons could be good in a Lost Zone archetype, the more I think about it. Well, I guess maybe not the Teal Mask guy, but the Water one definitely could be good in a Lost Zone deck, or even in Shenpao. I could see Shenpao playing the Wellspring Mask Ogerpon as an attacker. But let me know what you think of the brand new cards revealed down below. Those were all the new cards. I guess we can kind of look here at the rest of the stuff. It's going to have over 160 cards in Twilight Masquerade, 6 ace-specs. All right, so we've only seen, what, 2 so far? We've seen the Unfair Stamp and the Focus Sash reprint ace-spec. I forgot what it's called. 7 EXs, so 14 EX Pokemon. Cool stuff. All right, so we got some newer ace-specs that are going to be revealed over time. That are going to be featured in Twilight Masquerade. I'm pretty excited, but let me know what you think of these brand new Ogerpons down in the comments below. Which one do you think is going to be the best Ogerpon? I would love to hear what you think of it down below. What do you think of the brand new Lanas Assistant and the brand new energy card, the Boomerang Energy? Do you think any deck out there could realistically play Boomerang Energy and actually be successful? Let me know down in the comments below. That'll be for me on today's video, looking at these new cards. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe as always. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll leave a link to Poke Beach so you can go check out these cards for yourself. And then, yeah, that'll be it for me. I'm sure we'll see more new cards revealed soon, because Crimson Haze comes out next week. So there's going to be probably more new cards revealed at some point in the coming week before the 22nd of March. So hopefully we get some more exciting new card reveals to look at, and maybe another ace-spec will get revealed, or maybe this was all the reveals so far for Crimson Haze. Who knows? But thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.